Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Stam Sajivam Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakantang Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Sutasi Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Sutasi Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai-gaurasundara Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, my dear devotees. It's a great honor and pleasure and privilege for me to be with all of you students of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita at VIHE.
And Bhakti Shastri students also came.
and also Bhakti Shastri students. So, I have been asked to speak about Srila Prabhupada, and it is my pleasure to do so. And I thought to read from my latest book called Dancing White Elephants, Traveling with Srila Prabhupada in India, August 1970 to March 1972, which is leading up to Srila Prabhupada's getting the Juhu land and asking me to come there. So this book covers 13 different places. First is Amritsar, October 20th to 30th, 1970. Then Delhi and Vrindavan, October 30th to December 3rd. Then Indore, December 3rd to December 15th. Then Surat, December 15th to January 3rd. Bombay, January 4th to 6th. The Ardha Kumbh Mela in Allahabad, January 12th to February 2nd. Gorakhpur, February 3rd to 20th. Then Bombay again, March 13th to May 2nd. Calcutta, May 1st to November 9th. Delhi, November 10th to 25th. Madras, November 27th, 1971 to February 24th, 1972. And Mayapur in Calcutta, February 25th to March 25th, 1972. Today I thought to read about Srila Prabhupada's visit to Indore, which is related to his preaching of the Bhagavad Gita, which was very dear to him. And many interesting events and conversations took place in Indore. So chapter 4, Indore, December 3rd to 15th, 1970. After a month in Bombay, Srila Prabhupada proceeded to Indore by the invitation of the Gita Bhavan for the Gita Jayanti Mahotsav, the celebration of Lord Krishna speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And on December 8th, at his request, our group, who was in Delhi, minus Guru Das, who was working on getting customs clearance for Prabhupada's books, joined him. The organizers had assigned Prabhupada a cottage with a lawn and garden and housed the rest of us nearby. After settling into our quarters, we toured the festival site's large pandal and stage, the Gita Bhavan Eye Hospital, and an extensive diorama exhibit with an eclectic mix of spiritual paths. It was kind of like a pseudo-spiritual museum, and we were impressed by the energy and imagination that had gone into the center, but dubious, that means doubtful, about the legitimacy of it all. Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, as well as demigods and even animals were on display, which Srila Prabhupada referred to dismissively as a hodgepodge. Where in the Bhagavad Gita does it say that you should open an eye hospital? Prabhupada questioned. But if I tell them that, they will feel offended. Later, when we entered Prabhupada's darshan room, he looked up from his desk. Srila Prabhupada, Yamuna remarked, you look just like a picture I have seen of your Guru Maharaj looking up from his desk. Prabhupada replied, all that glitters is not gold. My Guru Maharaj was like gold. I am like iron. Of course, we knew that he was pure gold, just like his Guru Maharaj. Yamuna recalled how Srila Prabhupada dealt with each of us individually was the greatest gift. He treated everyone on a personal basis and encouraged us in our practice of Krishna consciousness. I felt that he genuinely loved each of us, and he exhibited that love through how he took care of us with great concern, compassion, and correction when required. So, yes, that is how Srila Prabhupada showed his love. But once I had I would say, got some special mercy to see Srila Prabhupada's love. Srila Prabhupada had a friend in Bombay named Bhogilal Patel, who was very pious. And he was 3 years older than Srila Prabhupada. And he was so pious that when the first devotee met him at his office to enroll him as a life member and told him about Srila Prabhupada's achievements, Bhogilal Patel began to weep. He cried profuse tears. So one day, Seth Bhogilal came to Juhu to meet Srila Prabhupada. At that time, Srila Prabhupada was still in his quarters at the back of Hare Krishna land. He had not moved into his new quarters. And as is natural in a conversation, when Seth Bogila was speaking, I would look at him. And when Prabhupada was speaking, I would look at him. Then when Seth Bogila would speak, I would look at him. And then when Srila Prabhupada would speak, I would look at him. But once, when Seth Bogila was speaking, I looked at Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was looking at me with such love, just like a doting father, or by age, like a doting grandfather. But as soon as he saw me looking at him, he concealed that loving expression, and he became very grave and serious. So Yamuna Devi recalled, I felt that Srila Prabhupada genuinely loved each of us. And he exhibited that love through how he took care of us with great concern, compassion, and correction when required. He personally took me to my room, which contained a small bed and a metal mirror. It's like a cupboard, sort of. Then he took out a small key, opened the armoire, and said, here is space for your belongings. Is this all right? I was thinking, here I am, an insignificant person in his party, yet he is showing so much concern for my welfare. And that same concern and kindness he showed to me, he also showed to everyone in the party by taking into account our natures, our characters, our individuality. We were his World Sankirtan party, his preachers. And at every moment we were reminded how important this was to Srila Prabhupada, this traveling Sankirtan. So now I'm continuing the narration. Srila Prabhupada was scheduled as the last speaker of the first night of the festival. So we all had to sit on stage for hours, listening to an assortment of sadhus and swamis, giving a series of long lectures in Hindi with Mayavad misconceptions. Prabhupada sat with us and waited, chanting japa. When it was finally his turn to speak, he described how he was spreading the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita in the West. The Gita, he said, was for devotees of Krishna and should not be misinterpreted, which would be cheating in the name of religion. At the end of his talk, he asked us to have kirtan. And when he joined us in dancing on stage, the crowd came to life and began clapping rhythmically. Hansaduta jumped down into the crowd, still playing mridanga, and the other devotees joined him. And soon hundreds of people rose to their feet and joined the chanting and dancing. The next day, pleased by the performance, the Pandal directors visited Srila Prabhupada in his quarters. Prabhupada complained. What do you think was his complaint?
The disciples have to wait for so long and they have to hear in Hindi. So Prabhupada can speak before that. Maybe.
Yes. You got 2 out of 3. Pretty good. Prabhupada complained about having to wait so long to speak, and his disciples having to sit through hours of speeches that deviated from the teachings of the Gita in a language they couldn't understand. But the director replied, "We do not favor any particular way. Followers of the Shankara school and others also come to our institution. We do not subscribe wholly that Krishna is the sole God or anything of the sort. There is a power behind him." This remark drew fire from Srila Prabhupada. What kind of glorification of the Gita did not accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest truth? Mata parataram nanyat, Gita 7:7. When the men had left, Prabhupada continued, "They are thinking there is something beyond Krishna, or that it is the spirit within Krishna that we have to surrender to. But they do not know that the within and the without of Krishna are all absolute, eternal, and full of bliss." As in Amritsar, Prabhupada could see that the festival organizers had invited him to draw larger crowds, but they would not make him sit through all the Mayavadi nonsense again. From then on, he said he would go with his disciples, speak, chant, and then leave. The next night, however, despite promises by the Pandal directors, Prabhupada again had to wait until the end of the program before he could speak and hold kirtan. The crowd was larger than before, and they were clearly waiting for Prabhupada and his foreign sadhus. When his turn came at last, he spoke and then asked us to begin kirtan. Again, the crowd responded enthusiastically. But during the kirtan, one of the members of the Gita Bhavan gestured to the devotees to jump down into the crowd as they had done the previous night. But what the devotees had done spontaneously could not be staged as a crowd pleaser. The man, however, was insistent. He came forward to the edge of the stage, reached up and began grabbing at the feet of the dancing devotees. Grabbing indiscriminately, he pulled at one of the women's saris. Srila Prabhupada was also dancing, but when he saw what was happening, he rushed to the edge of the stage and swung his kartals towards the man's face and shouted, "Stop this!" The man retreated. And Prabhupada and the rest of us continued our kirtan. Although little noticed by the crowd, Prabhupada's burst of lion-like ferocity impressed and inspired us, his disciples. One evening, Vairagi Baba, an educated follower of Lord Chaitanya who had visited America and spoke fluent English, and who had participated in one of our programs in Bombay, joined Srila Prabhupada and the devotees on stage. So Vairagi Baba is a very interesting character. He was big in build, and long hair and a beard, black hair and black beard. And he would turn up every now and then at Srila Prabhupada's programs. And Srila Prabhupada would try to engage him. So one evening, Vairagi Baba joined Srila Prabhupada and the devotees on the stage, and Prabhupada got up from the Vyasasana and came right in front of him and began to jump up and down and dance in an effort to encourage him also to jump up and down and dance. And there were the two of them jumping up and down and dancing before thousands of people. The festival directors were again pleased with Prabhupada's lecture and kirtan, but he sent them word that he would no longer sit through the other speakers waiting for his turn. He had wearied of hearing opinions on the Bhagavad Gita that avoided its conclusion, surrender to Sri Krishna, the absolute truth. Some speakers made the Gita an allegory. Some said that Krishna was not an actual historical personality, and some took advantage of the Gita's popularity to put forward their own political or social philosophies. A person with his own philosophy should write his own book, Prabhupada said, not use as a vehicle for his ideas the Bhagavad Gita, a scripture worshipped by millions and respected throughout the world. So there was another Gita event in 1976 in Wardha, which is in the center of India, Maharashtra, organized by Sri Ramakrishna Bajaj, who's a very big industrialist, under the banner of the Gita Pratistan, or the Gita Conference. And he wanted Srila Prabhupada to attend, but Srila Prabhupada was reluctant because he said, different speakers will have their own ideas of what the Bhagavad Gita says, and who will decide what is the actual message of the Gita. And he made the same point that people try to present their own philosophies in the name of Bhagavad Gita. And he said it's like a man is smoking ganja, marijuana, but he's not holding the pipe. He has a friend holding the pipe. So when the authorities come, he says, see, my hands are clean. I'm not touching the marijuana. So he said, in the same way, they present their own philosophies, but they take the name of the Bhagavad Gita. They sort of make the Bhagavad Gita responsible for their concocted philosophies. So, a person with his own philosophy should write his own book, Prabhupada said, not use as a vehicle for his ideas the Bhagavad Gita, a scripture worshipped by millions and respected throughout the world. Why should a conference under the name Gita Jayanti become a forum for speculative philosophies? The Bhagavad Gita itself stated that it was the essence of knowledge, meant to benefit the entire world. To misrepresent the Gita, therefore, was the greatest disservice. And Prabhupada felt that by his sitting through such a program, he and his disciples were tacitly approving the blasphemous speeches. On the third night of the festival, Prabhupada came with us early, having been promised that he would be first on the program. But when another speaker stood and began to discourse, Prabhupada, followed by the rest of us, stood up and walked off the stage. The festival director was quite disturbed by this, since most of the audience had come especially for the kirtans. And he pleaded with Prabhupada to return. But Prabhupada refused, though he agreed to send his disciples in his stead. We would speak and hold kirtan. Thereafter, Prabhupada stayed back at his cottage during the evening programs, and Hamsaduta and sometimes his wife, Himavati, spoke. But as before, we had to sit on the stage for hours and listen to the Mayavadis spout nonsense, while the audience was eagerly awaiting our kirtan. We repeatedly asked the organizers of the program to tell us exactly what time we would perform. And every day we were given a time and we came. But every evening the Mayavadis went on and on, well past the time we were supposed to begin. Finally, Hamsaduta told the organizers, "If you make us wait like this anymore, we're not going to come." The following night, however, again we had to wait, so we didn't attend the next program. Once more, the organizers were upset. Everyone in the audience had been waiting for us. So they came to Prabhupada's cottage in a group to complain. Prabhupada replied, "Why should I make them sit through some Mayavadi speaking nonsense in Hindi, which they don't even understand?" And that pretty much silenced the organizers. One of the Mayavadi sannyasis, this is very significant, very interesting, very significant. One of the Mayavadi sannyasis, who went by the name Muktananda Swami, joined our movement. We were impressed by his change of heart, considering it to be like Prakashananda Saraswati and all of his followers' conversion by Lord Chaitanya to Vaishnavism. We had never had a Mayavadi sannyasi join us, so we asked Srila Prabhupada what his position would be. Prabhupada said that Muktananda should give up his sannyas garments and dress and live like a brahmachari. Eventually, Muktananda went through the standard procedure of getting first and then getting second initiation. Prabhupada was pleased that he had joined and would sometimes address remarks to him for encouragement. And then Prabhupada sent Hamsaduta out to make life members. Then one day a palm reader, came to Srila Prabhupada's cottage and wanted to read our palms. We turned to Prabhupada and he said it was all right. So the palm reader looked at each of our hands and made predictions. This one would become a great devotee. This one would go back to Godhead in this life. This one would fall away. This one wouldn't make it in this life, but we'd have to come back and try again. After the palmist left, we then looked to Prabhupada for guidance as to what to make of the whole thing. He said, as soon as you clap your hands 3 times in front of the deity during arati, all the lines are wiped off. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus he dismissed the palmist's predictions. Another time, we were invited to an admirer's house for lunch, and Vairagi Baba was also there. But we noticed that after the meal, he was drinking tea. So, in a casual way, but with an element of challenge, I asked him why he was drinking tea. Vairagi Baba replied, "Oh, I am Avaduta." I had never heard the word before, so I asked Srila Prabhupada, I told Srila Prabhupada what had happened and asked what it meant. Prabhupada smiled and said, Avaduta means one who is above the regulator principles. Generally, this refers to Nityananda Prabhu. And he indicated his disapproval of Vairagi Baba's both drinking tea and referring to himself as an Avaduta. I'll come to, there's a lot of good things in this chapter. But I'll come to a very interesting discussion. Well, first one other thing, and then we'll come to that discussion. On December 14th, Prabhupada accepted an invitation from a wealthy gentleman who is related to the royal family. He spoke with the man about the importance of Krishna consciousness and then showed him his books and asked him to become a life member. I already have these books in my own language, the man responded. I don't need any more. Prabhupada became stern. I have not come here to sell you some books, he corrected. I have come here begging at your doorstep. Taken a man, the man immediately joined. Oh yes, Swamiji. I will become your member. I will be glad to become your member. So, yes, Srila Prabhupada said that when we preach and collect funds, make life members, or get ads, we should be very humble. There was a big shipping magnate in Bombay named Kotak, who somehow had been avoiding me. But I got his, he was too protected in his office. But I got his residential address and visited his home. And I made a presentation, and he said, what can I do for you? So I replied, I have come to do something for you. And he said, what can you do for me? And I said, I've come to engage you in Krishna's service. So, eventually he did donate, but when I went back and related the conversation to Srila Prabhupada, he said that when you go to preach, you have to be very humble. Not like, I've come to do something for you, but like this, as Prabhupada showed, I've come as a beggar at your doorstep. In the dining room for lunch, our host seated Prabhupada at the head of the long banquet table, and I took my place at his right. Then we honored prasad. Having been trained to follow a strict brahmachari lifestyle, I was particularly reserved about eating sweets, and especially seated next to Prabhupada, I tried not to take too much of the more opulent preparations. I didn't want to indulge in sense gratification, and I certainly didn't want Prabhupada to think I was doing so. So even when the host's elderly father repeatedly tried to serve me a second rasagula, I refused. Prabhupada could see the host's father was disappointed, and he glanced at me and said, "You can take a sweet to make an old man happy." And so I did. Many gentlemen came to meet Srila Prabhupada, usually with their own ideas of spiritual life. He even complained, they come to the Guru with their own opinions to see if the Guru will agree. If the Guru agrees, he is very good. But if the Guru disagrees, they think he is not good. One argument he had with some guests was especially instructive. And I really love this conversation. It's so full of meaning and instruction and irony. One argument he had with some guests was especially instructive. On the previous night, he had delivered a lecture at the Gita Samiti Hall, where he was appalled to find that there was no picture of Krishna. The next day, he raised the issue with his guests to point out that many people were not properly understanding and presenting the Bhagavad Gita and its speaker, Lord Krishna. He explained that his mission was to present the Gita properly, as it is, and to expose those who did not. Prabhupada. Bona fide spiritual master means one who carries out the order of higher authorities. We are carrying out the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna. Krishna taught the Bhagavad Gita, and he stated, anyone who preaches the confidential message of the Bhagavad Gita is very dear to me. Guest. We believe in an incorporeal God, Nirakar. Prabhupada said, who says incorporeal? Who says? Guest. You find it all over India, that incorporeal form, Jyotirlinga. Prabhupada. That's all right. You are bringing something besides the Bhagavad Gita. Just try to understand. In this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we are preaching the Bhagavad Gita. Jyotirlinga, these theories may be in other literatures, but we are particularly interested in preaching the Bhagavad Gita. And because the Bhagavad Gita is being preached wrongly all over the world, with nonsense commentation, we want to rectify it. Therefore, our society is especially named Krishna Conscious. Guest. What is wrongly preached about Gita? Prabhupada. Just like yesterday, I went to that Gita Samiti, Gita Society. There is a lamp. Why a lamp instead of Krishna? Krishna is a lamp? Therefore, I say it is being wrongly preached. Why there is a lamp? Does Krishna say? Guest. Lamp has been with us for more than Prabhupada. That's all right. Krishna has also been there. Guest. They must evolve. Prabhupada. No. The first thing is that the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna. So why there is no picture of Krishna? That means they have not understood Krishna. Therefore, your so-called Gita Society is not bona fide. Even in ordinary affairs, if there is some political meeting, you keep Gandhi's photo, Nehru's photo, because they are the political leaders. Gita Samiti is preaching the Bhagavad Gita, and there is not a single picture of Krishna. This is misguided. Now, Gita Bhavan, they have invited me because we are teaching the Bhagavad Gita. And that was the Gita's Jayanti. And the speaker of the Gita is not present. Therefore, I say that there are so many places, even here, that are wrongly presenting the Bhagavad Gita. So our position is to rectify that wrong propaganda. Guest 2. What is that wrong propaganda? Prabhupada. That is one instance. There are many. Just like in the 9th chapter, there is Manmana Bhavamat Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. Krishna says, engage your mind in always thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. But Dr. Radhakrishnan says, it is not to the person Krishna. Where does he get this nonsense idea? And incidentally, Srila Prabhupada later met Dr. Radhakrishnan in Madras. And Yeah, Dr. Radhakrishnan had sort of, he was partially paralyzed and he couldn't speak very well. But Prabhupada was very kind and merciful to him. Although he spoke all this Mayavad nonsense. Dr. Radhakrishnan says it is not to the person Krishna. Where does he get this nonsense idea? Guest one. No, Vivekananda has also said that. Prabhupada. Therefore I say they are all nonsense. They are all nonsense who deviate from the original text of the Bhagavad Gita. The guest challenged Srila Prabhupada's statement that his presentation of the Gita was correct, whereas others were not. They said that he should see and treat others with equal vision. Now, this is very, very interesting, what they tried to do and how Prabhupada dealt with it. Guest 5. If each and every person has an individual identity of soul above the body, unless you treat him as equal, Prabhupada, there are 3 gunas, and Bhagavad Gita analyzes these persons are in Sattva gun, these persons are in Rajagun, these persons are in Tamagun. Guess 5. That is not the personality of the Atma. The Atma is everybody's soul. If you have the potency to rise and go higher and higher, Prabhupada, you are not in the Atma stage. I am not in the Atma stage. You are in the bodily stage. Guest 5, both, body and soul together. Srila Prabhupada challenged the guests. If they saw everyone equally, why did they find fault with him? If you are in the Atma stage, Prabhupada asserted, you have no argument with me. Pandita Samadarshana. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 5:18. Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmane Gavihastini Suni Chaiva Sopake Cha Pandita Samadarshana. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmin, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. And incidentally, when I first joined the Boston Temple, and I was asked to give a Bhagavad Gita class, so this was the verse on which I spoke in my first Bhagavad Gita class. Guest 3. That is the correct position. Prabhupada. That is the correct position. But if you find that Swamiji is not to the standard, that means you are not in the position, Samadarshana. Guest 3. But that means that if a person commits a murder, a sinner, Prabhupada, yes, that is very high stage Samadarshana. Samadarshana means there is no distinction between what is sin and what is virtue. As soon as you see this is virtue and this is sin, it is not Samadarshana. Here it is said clearly, Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmane. A Brahmin is learned and Vinay, very humble. These are signs of goodness. Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmani Gavi Hastini Shuni. Shuni means dog. He sees a dog and a learned Brahmin the same. Now the dog is supposed to be sinful, and this learned Brahmin is supposed to be virtuous. Therefore, in his vision, the virtuous and the sinful are the same. That is Samadarshi. Guest 1. I think they have made many mistakes in writing the shlokas. Prabhupada. That's all right. Now you are finding faults in Vyas. So who can talk with you? Please excuse me. Please go out. You are finding faults with Vyas. Guest 4. We only want you to be understood here. Prabhupada shouting. I am not Samadarshi. I don't say I am Samadarshi. You say Samadarshi. Guest 2. You should be Samadarshi. Prabhupada. But I'm not in that stage. I say because you don't surrender to Krishna, you are sinful. That is my darshan. Guest 5. You should also be seeing as Samadarshana. Prabhupada. No, why shall I? I am not in that position. I am simply repeating the words of Krishna. That is my point. I may be Samadarshi, I may not be Samadarshi. My position is simply to repeat. That's all. Prabhupada had explained in his books that one on the higher platform does not make distinctions. He sees everyone engaged in the service of the Lord. But when one takes the position of acharya or preacher, one must make distinctions for the sake of instructing others and delivering them. Even the highest devotee acts on the intermediate platform when he preaches. Finally, a sixth guest raised one last question. This is very interesting and instructive. Guest 6. But every successive teacher has added some interpretations of the knowledge. No? Guest 4. You are the successor of somebody. Prabhupada. Yes, yes. Guest 5. Then what is your contribution? That is what we are asking. What is Samadarshi? Have you become Samadarshi? Guest 6. You are teaching others to be Samadarshi. Prabhupada. My Samadarshi is that why should only Hindus know Krishna? The whole world should know Krishna. That is my Samadarshi. But if you, the Hindus, refuse to know, what can I do? By Prabhupada's practical work, he had made Krishna consciousness available to persons all over the world. That was his equal vision, and that was his contribution to his predecessors and to us. He was presenting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and people all over the world were accepting and becoming Krishna's devotees. The guests were impressed. And if they wanted, they could also follow and benefit. So now I'll come to the end of the chapter. Srila Prabhupada gave us class every morning before sunrise. And on the 15th of December, he spoke on the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about Ajamil and the holy name, which he related to the experience of the Gita Jayanti Mahotsav. We listened with rapt attention appreciating a story that we had never heard and that was so meaningful and relevant. Quote, this is Prabhupada speaking. We are talking of Ajamil, a Brahmin residing in Kanyakuja, presently known as Kanpur. There are so many things to know, but these things are not being discussed here. It is very cheap to do whatever you like. You simply meditate and you become God. So much cheating is going on all over the world. The so-called yogis say you meditate, and as soon as you are realized, you become God. The Bhagavad Gita is being interpreted in so many ways, and these so-called explanations are being accepted by the innocent public as authoritative knowledge. Someone is explaining that Kurukshetra means this body. The Panch Pandavas, the 5 Pandavas, means the senses. This is not explaining. How can you explain the Bhagavad Gita as it is when you do not understand it? Such an attempt is nonsense. In his next talk, Prabhupada narrated more of Ajamil's life and commented, at this time there was only one Ajamil, but you will find many Ajamils like that at the present moment, because it is the age of Kali. Then he came to Ajamil's critical moment. He was just on the point of death. So naturally he had affection for his son. So he was calling, Narayan, Narayan, please come here, please come here. That is natural. I know my father. When he was dying, I was not at home. So he was living for one day to see me. He was always inquiring whether Abai has come back, like that. So father's paternal affection is like that. And similarly, Ajamil was calling, Narayan, Narayan. Prabhupada explained that according to the Bhagavad Gita, one's mentality at the time of death determines one's next birth. If a person remembers Narayan or Krishna at that moment, he becomes liberated. Because devotees are Krishna conscious, they enter the spiritual world. And because the materialists are absorbed in sense gratification and mental speculation, they have to take birth in the material world. Prabhupada gave an example. One gentleman in Calcutta was a fairly big businessman. He was dealing in shares, stocks. So at the time of death, he was crying, Kamarhati, Kamarhati. So the result might be that he might have taken his birth as a rat in the Kamarhati mill. It is possible. At the time of death, whatever you think, that will carry you to your next type of body. He continued, when Ajamil was dying, he saw that there were 3 ferocious persons, very fearsome persons with ropes in their hands. Sometimes a dying man cries because he sees somebody has come to take him to Yamaraj. He sees and he is very fearful. So Ajamil also became fearful. The assistants of Yamaraj have their very curled hairs, and hairs on their bodies are standing. Now at the time of Ajamil's death, the assistants of Yamaraj came to take him. Then he paused and said, we shall discuss sometime again. And he ended the lecture. On his last morning in Indore, Prabhupada continued Ajamil's story, explaining that because Ajamil had uttered the holy name, he was immediately saved, even though he had been so sinful. So Ajamil, at the time of his death, just remembered his youngest son, whose name was Narayan. The very name of Narayan has got the full potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. That is the secret of this Nam Sankirtan movement. By chanting the holy name of Narayan, you immediately contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nama, the Lord's name, is not material, it is spiritual. Krishna and Krishna's name, there is no difference. In a very appealing voice, Ajamil began to ask his son Narayan, "Please come here, I am dying." He was very afraid of the Yamadutas. Krishna sent the Vishnudutas to give Ajamil shelter. The Vishnudutas looked just like Narayan with 4 hands. With a grave voice, they said to the Yamadutas, "What are you doing? Stop. You cannot take this man to Yamaraj." Thus, Prabhupada ended his lecture and his stay in Indore. Baba Bal Mukund, one of the sadhus who attended the Gita Jayanti, summarized Prabhupada's contribution. "I have seen many sadhus and great saints in this Gita Bhavan. I saw Prabhupada also in the same place. I was very much impressed by Srila Prabhupada and his preaching. It was because Prabhupada had revealed the reality about bhakti. Because he was a pure bhakta, he could change the people of the West and give them another dress. He could give them another diet. And he could entirely change their culture and give them true bhakti. And this was the greatest thing Prabhupada has done. Let the world say as it likes, but he has done a marvelous thing regarding Lord Krishna's bhakti. What Swami Vivekananda, Swami Ramatirtha, and others could not do, Srila Prabhupada has done. It is a marvelous thing. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, my dear devotees, thank you for listening so patiently and attentively. And now, if any of you want to ask any questions or make any comments, share any reflections, you can raise your hand. Yes? Do we have can we give her a microphone?
Srila Prabhupada told in regarding of Saptarishi, that context, that my position is to simply repeat the words. And he told that, but I can or cannot be Samdarshi. So in what way was he saying that statement? Like in what sense?
Can you repeat your question?
Yes. Srila Prabhupada told that I may or may not be Samdarshi, but my position is to simply repeat the words. So in what sense was Srila Prabhupada saying this?
Yes. Well, according to that verse, Pandita Samadarshina, one who is Samadarshi, he does not distinguish between pious activities and sinful activities. A Brahmin is considered to have performed pious activities, and therefore he took birth as a Brahmin. A dog is considered to have performed sinful activities, and therefore he took birth as a dog. But if one is Samadarshi and sees a gentle and learned Brahmin and a dog the same, it means that he is not distinguishing between pious activities and sinful activities. But Srila Prabhupada said that is not his position. He says you are not surrendering to Krishna, therefore I say you are sinful. In Juhu, Srila Prabhupada would go for a walk on Juhu Beach every morning, and his constant companion was Dr. C.P. Patel. And Dr. Patel had his he considered them to be sadhus, and he would mention them to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada would compare them to the standard of Bhagavad Gita. If they were not up to the standard of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada would say so. So one day, Dr. Patel brought up one of the revered saintly persons of India, according to his estimation. And Srila Prabhupada said, he's not standard. And so Dr. Patel took offense, and he actually started to shout at Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was saying, I'm not saying, Krishna is saying, Namam Duskritina Mudha Prapadyante Naradama. Anyone who doesn't surrender to Krishna is a miscreant, a fool, a rascal. I'm not saying, Krishna is saying. But Dr. Patel really took offense, and he started shouting at Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada was shouting back at him. And Dr. Patel had his cronies, his friends, and even they tried to restrain him. They said, you know, Swamiji has a heart condition, don't upset him so much. And they tried to pull Dr. Patel away, but he wouldn't leave. He kept shouting. And Prabhupada was shouting back at him. So then, back at the temple, Tamal Krishna Goswami asked Srila Prabhupada, you know, what is Dr. Patel's actual position? Because sometimes he speaks like a Vaishnava. I mean, when Prabhupada would accuse him of being a Mayavadi, Dr. Patel would say, no, sir, I'm a Vaishnava. I'm a pure Vaishnava. So Tamal Krishna Goswami asked Srila Prabhupada, what is Dr. Patel's actual position? And Srila Prabhupada told a story about a man who could speak very fluently and expertly in different languages. Whatever language you would address the person in, he would respond perfectly in the same language. So people were wondering, where is he actually from? What is his actual mother tongue? Then one of the villagers said, I will find out. So when the man wasn't looking, he came up behind him and he gave him a big whack on the back. And then the man started to curse in his native language, in his mother tongue. So Srila Prabhupada said Dr. Patel is like that. He can speak expertly in different languages. But when I hit him where it really hurt, his true language came out. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami said, well, why do you put up with him? He's so offensive. And Srila Prabhupada replied, we have to engage everyone. And that was Srila Prabhupada's vision, merciful attitude. So then, for the first time, Dr. Patel did not come to accompany Srila Prabhupada on his morning walk. And Srila Prabhupada said, all right, now no more discussion, we'll just read Krishna book. So we're reading Krishna book on the morning walks. And Dr. Patel did not come. But then one day, as Dr. Patel describes it, something in his heart impelled him to approach Srila Prabhupada. So he went up to Srila Prabhupada and he touched his feet. And he said, Prabhupada, I have been taught to respect all the accredited saints of India. And Srila Prabhupada replied, yes. And I have been taught to say who is a saint and who is not a saint. So they got reconciled, and again, Dr. Patel joined the morning walks with Srila Prabhupada. And after Prabhupada left, he wrote an article that it was published in Back to Godhead magazine. And the title of the article was My Life's Most Precious Moments. And the subtitle was Bombay Doctor wins the title Big Fool and likes it. So, yeah. Any other? Yes?
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, you mentioned the episode of Srila Prabhupada visiting Radha Krishna when he was sick in Chennai. And even though Satyapati Radha Krishna was making merciless, and there were many followers of him also who were reading his Bhagavad Gita and getting misguided. So we hear that generally impersonalists are sometimes compared to venomous snakes, and we should, when a venomous snake is there, we should kill it. But here in this episode, we see the I actually see two qualities of Prabhupada. One is detachment and compassionate nature. So how do we, in our day-to-day life also, we come across people with these impersonalist tendencies. So how do we balance this principle of venomous snakes and at the same time be detached and compassionate?
Well, there are two kinds of Mayavadis. One is like a confirmed Mayavadi, like Dr. Radhakrishnan. And the other is someone who has become a Mayavadi just by association with other Mayavadis, who has not come across the real teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and who can change and accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead with the proper association. So when we deal with someone, we have to assess, are they like confirmed Mayavadis or are they just Mayavadis because they don't know any better? And they can become personalists with a good association. But yeah, but since you mentioned that, let me tell you what Srila Prabhupada said about Dr. Radhakrishna. So when Srila Prabhupada was in Madras, in addition to meeting with Dr. Radhakrishnan, he met with Rajaji, who was 93, and so Srila Prabhupada was telling Rajaji how he wanted Mahatma Gandhi to take up the preaching of the Bhagavad Gita. And so Prabhupada, I was thinking of taking up this task long, long ago. I wrote one letter to Mahatma Gandhi that you have got influence all over the world and you are acknowledged a man of spiritual understanding. Now you have got Swaraj, independence. You better retire and take up this preaching of Bhagavad Gita all over the world. Rajaji, he was doing it from the beginning, not exclusively, but applying the Bhagavad Gita to everything he was doing. He was doing it really, but you are referring to concentrated, exclusive teaching of the doctrine as a way of life. Prabhupada, yes. Sometimes I requested Dr. Radhakrishnan also when he was vice president. Rajaji, Radhakrishnan, nowhere in comparison with Gandhi. Prabhupada laughing, no. Rajaji, Radhakrishnan, highly intellectual, good man, but he was more of a, he gave no inspiration. God seems to have decided to spare him from that hard work. Prabhupada, yes. So now we come to Prabhupada's meeting with Dr. Radhakrishnan. I'll give some background. I also arranged for Srila Prabhupada to meet with Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, who has served as the second President of India from 1962 to 1967, and was the first Vice President of India from 1952 to 1962, and who had written several books and translations of Vedic philosophy from the impersonal point of view. Srila Prabhupada had previously criticized Dr. Radhakrishnan's translation and commentary on the Gita, which declared that although Krishna says surrender unto him, we don't actually have to surrender unto the person Krishna, but, quote, the unborn, beginningless, eternal who speaks through Krishna, end quote. Then Prabhupada wrote in an article, in the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna says, surrender unto me only. But Dr. Radhakrishnan says, surrender not to the person Krishna. Is it not the opposite view to suit the particular type of philosophy followed by Dr. Radhakrishnan? These indirect interpretations of the Mayavadi school for all kinds of revealed scriptures are properly condemned. So now, Dr. Radhakrishnan was a decrepit old man, withered and bent over. He shuffled in with the assistance of a nurse, who leaned into a chair and, as Vishaka remembered, sat near Prabhupada, worldless. With Dr. Radhakrishnan, silent and trembling, next to him, Prabhupada leaned forward and gently addressed the doctor, explaining how Prabhupada was traveling widely to present the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is throughout the world, and was receiving a good reception. People were hankering for this knowledge, taking it seriously and becoming devotees of Krishna. Prabhupada quoted Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So Srila Prabhupada didn't criticize Dr. Radhakrishnan for his misinterpretation of the Gita, but he just presented the way he offered the Bhagavad Gita and how people were receiving his presentation. Krishna, Prabhupada continued, is a person, not a person like us, for we are embodied souls. Krishna's form is all spiritual. We could personally relate to him by serving him with love and devotion. End quote. The old scholar sometimes responded with a glimmer in his eyes, but he could only make incoherent sounds. And after a few minutes, his nurse interrupted. The doctor is tired now and must rest. He thanks you for kindly visiting him. And on his nurse's arm, Dr. Radhakrishnan hobbled back to his room. Later, Shamsundar wrote, Prabhupada said, suppose I have written one book, Bhagavad Gita. So I have got some intention. So why should you interpret my intention with your intention? But because it is popular, you are taking advantage of my book and expressing your views. How much cheating? How much cheating you are. Therefore, he is suffering. Dr. Radhakrishnan. He has lost his brain, void, simply sitting down like this. He cannot ask whether he is hungry or not. His daughter is always attending, giving him some food. Then he is eating. Otherwise, he does not say. He has lost everything. He has mentioned Bhagavad Gita as a mental speculation in his Indian religion book. He is such a great offender. He must suffer. But it is good for him. Because he is a gentleman, therefore his offenses are being compensated in this life. The meeting seemed to affect Prabhupada, and for days after, he would somberly mention how the old Mayavadi scholar was living almost like a vegetable, just sitting in his house for years on end, paralyzed, spoon-fed by his daughter. In his room one day, this is sort of a fond memory of mine. In his room one day, Srila Prabhupada gave a brief description of each of his books in just 1 or 2 sentences. Concluding, he said, the nectar of devotion is real nectar. And the Krishna book is pastimes and philosophy woven together in such a way that while reading it, you don't even realize you are getting the philosophy. So, we have a few more minutes in case any of you have any more questions or comments. We have to get the sound to work.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I think Dr. Radhakrishnan and Jana Krishnamurti, all these philosophers, are indirectly helping Krishna conscious movement. Like this. Because all the Krishna is very genius, Maharaj. All the indirect means who are averse to Krishna consciousness will join in that camp, so that they will come and they won't come to here and disturb us. That's why. It means that otherwise here they will come and they say, I am God, you are God, and everything. So they will join that, so they don't come here and disturb us.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. Well, Srila Prabhupada did say that in the beginning Maya tests a devotee to see who is really a devotee who wants to serve Krishna and who's coming to disturb Krishna. So therefore, in the beginning Maya tests a new person quite a lot. Sorry?
Yeah, just actually it's a comment.
You're making a comment. Yes. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I wanted to ask that I heard that how Srila Prabhupada would be so fearless and fierce in his preaching, and even in a place where he was invited, he was among all other speakers of different, who were following different philosophies. Still, he was very he could oppose them very strongly, and he could put his point forward. But in today's scenario, we see like sometimes the senior devotees, if they are sharing a stage with people who are following different paths, they don't generally try to oppose them or something. And that is, I understand, like it is in today's worldview, it is not actually, people don't consider it very appropriate or things like that. So how should we as followers of Srila Prabhupada take this? In scenarios in two scenarios, one is with people, how should we behave? Should we have a softer approach, that we should be accepting of all the other faiths and philosophies? Or secondly, especially on social media, like how should we put our view forward?
Well, if we're on a platform with followers of other philosophies, we have to present our philosophy as it is. And, we don't necessarily have to comment directly on what they have said. Like Srila Prabhupada, even in his meeting with Dr. Radhakrishnan, he didn't directly mention anything that Dr. Radhakrishnan had written, but he gave the proper understanding which contradicted Dr. Radhakrishnan's misunderstanding. As far as social media, I don't think it's a very good platform for philosophical discussion. Usually, if someone raises a philosophical question, I suggest that we continue the conversation by email. Because, I mean, although sometimes, on Facebook I'll post a link to a talk I gave or an article that I've written. But as far as like tit for tat, going back and forth, I don't recommend doing that on social media.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj Ji. Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Dandat Pranam. We saw this story, this incident of Dr. Patel misbehaving with Srila Prabhupada, which was a very serious Vaishnav aparadh. So I am a very, very new person in Krishna consciousness. So my concern for myself is that there are a couple of devotees in my family also, and we somehow sometimes end up
having an argument about something or the other. Not maybe like about Krishna conscious philosophy, but when we are dealing with each other, because the more time you spend with each other, the more granted you take each other for. So we are quite upfront about it, and this mad elephant is a disease that I don't want to get. So what can I do to just keep it away from myself?
Well, when we deal with family members who are devotees, we should keep in the forefront that they are devotees and deal with them respectfully as devotees. I mean, we might have differences of opinion. I mean, that happens among devotees, family members or not. But yeah, you should be humble and respectful. And so you're saying sometimes you argue about things?
Yes, like with your partner, maybe with your, like relatives or parents who are devotees. So sometimes the disagreement is not about what we are practicing essentially in Krishna consciousness, but we are going somewhere and the opinions are different and the elder person is not, willing to understand, or I have an opinion, and this habit of blurting out instantly. There's less patience. I'm trying to develop it, but still is not. It's the speed of improvement is so slow.
Now think of a conversation. One devotee told me about her and her husband, that whenever they would discuss what to do for sense gratification, where to go, what to see, they would always disagree. But whenever they discussed what to do in relation to devotional service, they were always in agreement. So, yeah, as far as possible, if you can keep the focus on devotional service, then you'll have more agreement. And if you're discussing other things, where to go, what to do, what to see, there may be differences, but you feel the elders should listen to you more.
No, Maharaj, actually I think I'm not able, I have not expressed it clearly. What I'd say is that we are 3 siblings, so I take care of my mother more often than the others. So, but she is a mother, so she wants to take care of all her children. So in terms of their demands and everything, or whatever they expect of her, it sometimes falls on my shoulders to a great extent. But she being a mother wants to cater to it, and I being a daughter, I just want to cater to what she needs. And not the needs of everyone, because it gets too much for me also sometimes. So that's where we really disagree upon. Because we don't really discuss much outside of devotional life. This is only the main area of disagreement. I hope this is not going on YouTube.
I think your relationship with your siblings is finished now. They'll never speak to you again. Oh yeah, I can appreciate your mood and taking care of your mother. I think that's proper. And in a way, it's proper for her to care equally about all of her children. But still, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, he sees everyone equally, but, if someone is a special friend to him, he's a friend to them. So, I think that if you're, anyway, it's sort of hard to comment because I don't really know the situation, but I think if you're the one who's providing the most care for your mother, it's natural that she would reciprocate with you more. But at the same time, acknowledge and accept and appreciate the other siblings.
Can you share your experience, so difficulty to build a temple, Juhu temple, and how you get determination and commitment to Srila Prabhupada?
What was the first part?
Can you share your experience to so difficulty to build a Juhu temple?
Well, I wrote a book about it. Called I'll Build You a Temple, the Jew story. You can get everything in there. And yeah, I had faith in Srila Prabhupada, and I knew he wanted the project, and I learned early in my spiritual life that the secret of success in spiritual life is to serve the spiritual master and please the spiritual master. So that was my focus always, to serve and please Srila Prabhupada. So yeah, I was happy with it. Once His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami Maharaj said to Srila Prabhupada that I have only one department, the Bhaktivedanta Institute, and I have so many problems. And you have the whole worldwide movement to manage. I can't even imagine how many problems you have to deal with. And Srila Prabhupada replied, problems? I don't see problems. I see only service to my Guru Maharaj. Right? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, VIHE ki jai.
Nagapati Mataji broke Prabhupada's shoe.
Oh. Nagapatni Mataji brought Srila Prabhupada's shoe. That was special mercy. So, do we pass it?
We can get one.
Huh?
We can get the mercy. Last year you put the shoe on everybody's head.
Yeah, they come forward?
Yeah.
All right, my dear devotees, you can get some special mercy. You come forward and we'll tap you on the head with Srila Prabhupada's shoe.
Hari Hari. Thank you, Mataji, so much. Thank you. Please move on.